Hey everybody, welcome to Pencil for Life. This is the one, the only Brad. How are you guys doing today? I hope you're doing really good. Today, I have a friend of mine with me, and I don't know, he's been a guest out at the shop before and things like that. Artist Kari Christensen, and he works for Magic is the Gathering, Games Workshop, Sideshow. Who else are you working for, Kari?
Been doing some stuff for Bethesda for Elder Scrolls.
Oh yeah.
It's different every month, so yeah.
Yeah. And what's it? So I know you're a freelance artist. So let's start with the basics. How did you get started in freelance?
I'm older. I'm getting old these days. So back when I started, it was a little easier. Like the internet was kind of a new thing.
Mhm.
So back then, I think it was 99. I just put my stuff up on. I think it was Elfwood. Do you ever see that website?
No, I never saw Elfwood. Yeah,
I think it might be still around, but yeah, super old school. And that was like the first kind of collection of fantasy artists online. And really mixed quality. But I had my stuff up on there, and I think Palladium, you're probably familiar with the Rift
I know
RPG.
Palladium, yeah.
Yeah, so I think they were kind of mining that, and
Oh, were they?
they're
Okay.
like, hey, yeah, look at all these young artists. We can hire these guys to do our card game. So that was my first card game experience working for those guys. And
Gotcha.
I was a big fan of the Robotech role-playing
Mhm.
game, and read, I was a big fan of Robotech in general. And so I was super excited.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was my first experience like reading a super long contract and all these crazy terms and stuff about IP and
Oh
NDA.
yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of just fell in my lap. Before that I'd been doing I worked at a game studio in Utah while I was going to BYU. And so that was pretty cool. I got to work.
What was the game studio?
It was so I think it started as Cygnus Multimedia,
Sounds familiar.
and then it changed to Sapphire.
Oh,
And
okay, Sapphire.
yeah,
I know
yeah.
Sapphire. Yeah.
So they were outsourced. So we were.
Didn't they do 3DO stuff back in the day? For
Man,
the 3DO machine?
probably, yeah. We did a lot of porting. So yeah, so like Activision would have a game, and yeah, like for MechWare, we did some work on MechWare, and I don't know where it was going, but they would export all the sprites, and then so it was a lot. It was definitely like sweatshop work. So I was doing a lot of cleanup of sprite animations, and sometimes I get to design some stuff, but it was more cleaning up other people's work.
Gotcha. All right, cool.
I have to say I was paid by the pixels too, which is pretty awesome.
Paid by the pixel? Oh.
Yeah, totally. So you put your work in this program and count all the pixels you painted for the day with your mouse. And
Really?
yeah, you're paid like, a fraction of a cent per pixel. So you'd walk into the office and it was just like mad mouse clicking as fast as people could, get paid more. So it was interesting. But then, it kind of evolved. That's how I started. And then started doing more 3D, and I started doing 2D animation. Luckily, I had other game jobs that were less sweatshop experiences. So I kind of, when I graduated with my illustration degree, I had the experience working at the game studios, and then I was like, oh wow, people like Palladium were contacting me, so maybe I can branch into freelance and do, pick my projects and get to paint more.
Yeah. Were you ever on what's it called? Conceptart.org?
I was, yeah.
I was on there. That's the first website I got into.
Yeah, I actually remember I met the guys that started it. And did you ever go on Cygen? There was one before Concept Art.
No.
It was like Cygen.net or something. And I remember Craig Mullins was on there doing really awesome digital stuff, and everyone was like, wow. And I was at Game Developers Conference. I was talking to some guys, And I was like, you guys should be on Sideshow. You know, there were some people that were working at like Industrial Light and Magic and Nintendo, really talented artists I'd never met before. They're like, oh no, we're gonna start our own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was conceptart.org. Like it popped up like 2 weeks later,
Oh,
and
that's
you know,
cool.
and they kind of took over. Yeah, it was cool. That was that that site really was like a omen of how the whole industry would change,
Mm-hmm.
because it blew my mind, because suddenly you're seeing, you know, people from all over the
Oh
world,
yeah, everywhere. Yeah.
and then you could get critique from people from all over the world,
Mm-hmm.
and but then it was also critique from like some guy in junior high that you don't know, and then it could be a professional you didn't know. So it was like a real overload for me, kind of threw me
Mm-hmm.
through a loop. And so there was like really good sides to it, and really like a new level of stress for me in my
Oh yeah,
work.
totally. Yeah. Yeah,
But
I,
it
I
was
I remember
interesting.
going on there and like because I started out digital, you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh,
so that's why I
whoa, I didn't
started out
know
with
that.
digital. Yeah, I started out digital and I went
Oh,
backwards. So
oh
uh,
wow.
yeah, I was like, dude, I can't compete with these guys because like the color theory was not there because of my eyes and everything, and
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it. I'm like, nah, can't do it. So I'm gonna go back to the old tried and true, you know,
Oh,
pencil and
interesting.
paper. Yeah. So
So how long did you kind of attack the digital side of things?
3, 4 years, something like that.
Oh wow.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I tried, you know, but I had my little Wacom or Wacom Graphire tablet.
Hmm.
A Graphire, not even a tablet. It was just a little big mouse pad with a stylus, you know, and you had to look at the screen while you draw. You know,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's that's the first thing I got. You know, when I was going because I was doing art at UBU,
Hmm.
so we got that as part of our class thing. So I remember it cost me like $200 or something like that for that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Yeah, I
latest
still
tech.
have it. I still have it.
Those
It'll
old
take
ones,
yeah.
they're solid. Like I've smashed like the cable in a drawer and like bent
Uh-huh.
it, and it still works. And like the new ones, I've
Yeah.
had so many new ones just die on me.
Yeah, I still have it. I occasionally break it out if I need something pretty quick, even though I do have a Cintiq in the box right over there. So
Mhm.
I just don't have it set up yet, but soon. It'll be very soon though. So, but yeah, occasionally I busted it out like when I was doing quick edits on my comic pages and stuff like that. I would just pull that out real quick, you know, because
Yeah.
mainly it's just erasing a little touching up or whatever, and it works
Yeah.
perfect for it.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
the stylus, I still have the original stylus. What's funny is that the plastic has changed color over the years. So it's turned a funky color.
It's
Uh, but
aging like a fine wine.
yes, but the new stylus works on it. It just doesn't. You don't get the pressure sensitivity, you know, because it never
Oh.
had it. So it's just that connection of when you drag it across the surface. So
Yeah.
yeah, still the same tech, you know, but slightly different. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. Anyways, let's get back to you. It's just kind of
You
funny.
threw me through a loop there. You're such a good drawer. I was that's interesting how you started digitally. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, looks like Tyler showed up. Drawn talk in the chat. He says, "Hey there." He's going to be listening while he's working out to us at the gym. So
Cool.
cool. Yeah. So, what was after working at Sapphire? What was your next step? I mean, you had
Um,
some other projects you were working on. You know.
yeah, well, so I worked at another game company. We did some stuff for Interactive Magic. That company was called Erudite Software. And it was small. There was only like 4 artists there, and I really liked that job because I was actually painting and designing and animating stuff. But yeah, I just and then I ended up working as an art director for educational graphics for like 3 years, and I did that from like '99 to 2001, I think, and that's
Mhm.
when I started getting like I got the first job for the Rift stuff, and then after that, Games Workshop contacted me, and they were doing a card game too.
Okay, cool. What What was your first? Did you cover for the Rifts books, or were
No,
you doing
so it was all cards, and I think the card game did not do well. I think I remember I have like the game,
Mhm.
but I don't remember ever seeing it in the store.
Gotcha, gotcha.
So yeah, it
Mhm.
was, and that, you know, and kind of interestingly, that's what actually put me on the digital path, because all through school I was doing oil painting, acrylics. You know, at work at the game studios, I was doing some digital stuff, but Photoshop was still relatively new. And like, if I had a project where at work where they're like, we need a background and it's going to be 480 pixels by 640, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's huge, and so much pay because so many pixels. So the idea of like it was still new to me, and I mean, I think in like Hollywood and stuff, you know, computer graphics were a thing, but for illustration, it was definitely a new thing.
Mhm.
Um, and I lost my train of thought. Was Anyway,
Mhm.
so oh yeah, okay, I remember. So with the palladium stuff and the riffs, I did those all as oil paintings, but then I needed
Oh, okay.
scans, and when I scanned them in, they had a lot of glare, and I had to wait for them to dry. So I was like, well, I've been fiddling at work with all this digital stuff. I might as well, you know, clean them up digitally,
Yeah,
and then that's when I started realizing it was just going to be faster for me to really commit to the digital stuff.
gotcha. Okay. How did you scan those originals in?
Oh,
Like, did you do it
I
with a
mean,
photo, or? 'Cause I know
no,
some people
no.
photo scan it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd take them. I did all sorts of stuff back then. Like, I would take them to, you know, just like a printing place that had a nice, like, large format camera. So they would do big negatives. Can't remember how big they were, but they were huge. But that was pretty expensive. That was like almost $100 per reproduction.
Mhm.
Uh, for the Risk cards, I just used my own scanner and scanned them in pieces.
Mhm. And then digitally put them together in Photoshop or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
Gotcha. Yeah, I've done that many, many times.
yeah. You
Yeah,
have.
yeah, yeah. I don't like it. I'm finally glad. I got my. I showed you the other day. I got my scanner in finally. So
Yeah.
my large format scanner is here for my comic pages, and so it's gonna be awesome. So I don't have to come to your house anymore and borrow your scanner.
You're welcome anytime.
Well, I mean, you do. Yours is pretty beefy though. It's like yours what
It's
18
not.
inch.
Yeah, it's at least 11 by 19,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
it's big.
I would love you something even bigger, but cameras have gotten so nice. I need
Mhm.
to get better lighting equipment, but I have a lot of friends that do great reproductions of their large paintings just with, you know, just with a digital camera. So
Mhm.
that's what I'm
Looks
looking
like
into.
we were joined by a couple more people in the chat real quick, just saying hey to Pope Fire and Ryan Cardinal. Ryan Cardinal is a great artist, by the way. So he's a
Oh,
cool dude
cool.
as well. Yeah. Remember, guys, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask him. Why we're just having a conversation. I'll be happy to ask him and relay them along. But let's get back to it. With you were working plating, scanned in the old artwork. You uh, figured out digitally was the best way to go for you, and
Yeah.
that's when you started on board. What was the first big project you did that was just all digital?
It was it went pretty quick. So after I did like 4 cards for the Risk card game, and then Games Workshop contacted me, and at the time that game was it's doing pretty well. I remember I went to a game store because I hadn't heard of it. I'd heard of Warhammer 40K and stuff, but I was like, and I actually wasn't sure if it was like a real email. I was like, so is this like a real thing? Like, these guys are saying they want to hire me, and they just sent me an email, and the guy at the game store was like, oh my gosh, you're working on that? That's real.
Yeah,
and
that's a huge game. Worldwide, that is the most popular tabletop game in the world.
Yeah. And so it was really fun because you know, I talked to the fans that played the game, like, tell me everything you know about this stuff, and I was like,
Mhm.
whoa, this is amazing. the world is so apocalyptic and dark, which is totally stuff I love. But yeah, right away so those things I started doing digital. I started more of a hybrid. Like I would start with a sketch and then do acrylic on top of that, and
Mm-hmm.
then kind of build up the final lighting and color and values digitally.
Mm-hmm.
I was always experimenting. I like what you said, like finding the right way to work for you, like work digitally. It just works differently for everyone, I think. You can definitely, everyone has great, if you look at artists you like, I'm sure you can pick up something that's useful, but there's a lot of artists I really admire and they show me how they work and I'm like, that's cool for you. But,
Yeah.
for me, it's, um, it might not fit exactly how I like to work. So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Mhm.
so yeah, working, and so Games Workshop, I mean, they just gave me a ton of work. Uh, it just kind of took off from there, and they were giving me so much work. We were, I'd graduated from school by then,
Mhm.
and I had gotten married. My wife had a scholarship to Rhode Island School of Design, so we were looking to move cross country, and I applied to a few game studios, but I didn't have any solid job lined up yet. So I was like, well, I would love to take on more freelance, so I just jumped right into freelancing full time and moving, which
Mhm.
I don't recommend, because the thing I didn't realize is I won't leave the house ever after I move, because I won't know anyone in the new place. So that was a that was the shocker that I just never thought about it. I was like, that's the dream, like working in your pajamas all day and just doing your work as much as you want. But if you don't leave the house and you're in a new place, it's gets a little weird.
Mhm. Pope Fire wants to know who's your favorite Titan from Teen Titans or DC Comics.
um, that's a tough question, because I'm not a create. I mean, I like comics, but I'm not
Mhm.
like an adamant comic fan.
Okay.
Um, so I'm not sure actually.
Okay, that's fine. It's fair. Ryan Cardinal wants to know what's in the jar behind you, Kari.
This
I think it's that one, the bigger one. Yeah.
yeah, I'm trying. Yes, that's full of animal bones, and I've taken that to conventions as a little decoration on the table, and I realize that's a bad idea, because everyone just asks me how much that jar of animal bones is, and they don't ask about my art.
It's all good. um, so I remember we talked about this before. Your contract, when you get a freelance contract, they have different parameters you have to go by, what you can do, what you can't do, things like that. And I remember you telling me about the contract for Games Workshop, and it
Mm.
always stuck out to me about how strict it is. Um, Give us an idea of how strict that is. Like
Um,
what can you not do today?
Well, and I mean,
Still,
it's been probably 3 years since I've done work for them, so I don't know if it's evolved. But when I first worked on the card game, they were licensing the property through another company. So I
hmm
I I wasn't allowed to sell prints, but I could sell like an original painting if I did original painting. And I did do a few. Like I was talking about how I went to digital then, but then when I had time, and if it was like a cool piece with orcs or something that I knew people would be into, I would do oil painting. Um, so that's working through a license with someone. But then when I started working directly with the corporate company, that contract is intense. Like, not only can you not sell your original painting, you can't even give it away according to the contract.
that's
And the
crazy.
and the contract had limits on like the size of the image that you could put online, and it was tiny.
Really?
And for Games Workshop, you're usually doing big battle scenes, so it's like a limit.
Yeah, you weren't
Yeah,
doing this thing. Yeah.
yeah. yeah, it's like, oh, you're limited like a 600 pixel wide image, which you could hardly see anything. I talked with legal and they got that size larger, but yeah, that's definitely something I think is important to get out there, is like understanding your contract terms before you work with a big company like that. Like being able to sell prints and the original can be a huge part of your income,
Mhm.
because these guys, some companies might send you a lot of work, but some might only send work periodically. So it's good to be able to keep making money off of the work you've done.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, the contract terms are very important.
yeah. Now, I know your contract is really different when you go to Magic, when you're working with
Yeah.
Wizards of the Coast, because
Yeah.
I know, people like Howard Lyon.
Mhm.
He does all original paintings, and so he
Mhm.
can sell those for extra
Yeah.
income. And Wizards of the Coast allows you to do that.
Yes.
Uh, Steve Argyle, I think he's all digital. Is that right?
He's not all totally digital. In
Oh, he's
fact,
not?
I was over at Howard's studio last night and Steve was there and we were all, well, I was painting digitally, but those guys were painting with oils.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But it was just because I didn't realize I was going to be over painting, so I just had my iPad on me.
I'm going to pull up some of your artwork real quick. I'm going to throw up your Instagram page. So let's start talking about Wizards of the Coast, because that's probably one of
Cool.
your biggest things going on right now. I would say. I'll lock that on there. And this is his Instagram page, by the way. Kari artwork. You're gonna have to look at it right now. There's some sort of weird thing going on, so you have to find it directly. But you got definitely one card up right now. Chaos Wand. Um, what is it like to one, get the call from Wizards of the Coast to do a project? Because they're probably one of the few companies, besides video game companies or whatever, traditional games, where they do a big project. They hire traditional artists, they hire digital artists. So, what's it like to get that call from them?
Well, my first job on Magic was, I was really excited because I had worked for Wizards of the Coast back back in like 2004, 2005, like around then on other projects. But yeah, getting the job on Magic actually took me 10 years
10
of like,
years.
yeah, I was sending, and I knew all the art directors, uh, but yeah, 10 years of like sending my portfolio and getting rejected, or going and meeting them at comic, like New York Comic Con. And sometimes, I had one art director's like, oh, we just had some undead. You would have been perfect for that. And, but then, and I was like, okay, well, that's a good sign. Maybe in another year or two. And it was probably 6 years after that.
Mhm.
So when they finally, and I was talking to another friend about this because uh, that kind of, that rejection's tough. Like it really wears on
Mhm.
you, and I think as an artist, it's critical to have like very clear art goals, but I think it gets dangerous when you want the goal to be manageable. Like if you put all of your goals and self-esteem on, like, if some art director you don't know is going to give you work, then it can get really tough. And so after a while and lots of conventions where people see I work on games, and they're like, well, do you work on Magic? I'm like, oh no, sorry. I was like, oh geez, is that ever
Yeah,
gonna
it's
happen?
almost like a status symbol
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be in
And
Magic.
I realized, first I was lucky enough to get work right out of school, so I was like, well, I'm a professional now, and I'll just do my work. And I realized I wasn't getting out enough. I wasn't talking to other artists. I wasn't learning. I wasn't, like, I needed to take classes. I needed to get better. Like I was kind of staying
Okay,
static.
you're not Yeah.
So I really, I took lots of classes, did mentorships,
Mhm.
studied with some really amazing artists, and and then I started just enjoying doing my work and getting better, and and then it was less about like trying to get work for a certain company. I mean, when you need to pay the bills, that adds stress to it, but in my pursuit to hit certain goals, it helped me to get work with other cool companies. Like I did a lot of work for Sony Online for many years for EverQuest stuff. Um, and then I was really excited when I finally got work for Sideshow, which I love their Court of the Dead
Yep.
things. And so it took 10 years to get work on Magic, but when it finally happened, I was feeling, I was just enjoying what I was doing. And so I was super excited when it finally happened, but also it was a weird thing where I was comfortable if it did happen or not. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So, but yeah, I mean, freelancing, I actually, I heard an interview with Brahm. that It was awesome. This is a great quote. He said, freelancing is like constantly being hired and fired over and over and over. And it's so true. And if Brahm says that, then because his work's amazing. But that's how it is. You're constantly like, you might work for a company for a year and it might be 5 years or it might be just one job. Um, so it really takes kind of a thick skin. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
always exciting when, like a cool company like Wizards of the Coast or Bethesda has something come up. I like to diversify too. So I do work for film stuff um, and I have private commissions and other things going too. So
Cool.
if something slows down, there's always something else.
That's good. Yeah. One, yeah, don't be afraid of, obviously being rejected all the time. If you're a new guy starting out,
Or
you, I,
even if you've been in a while, it's
yeah, yeah,
still
yeah. I mean, it happens all the time,
yeah.
So, and you just got to keep persevering, and people notice that more if you keep coming back over and over again. Trying. At least I
Yeah.
think so.
Oh, totally. And I mean, the important thing is the toughest thing is if you're turned down and there's just no reason, like, and that happens all the time. If you're just emailing a company, but like if you have a chance to meet an art director, get that critique and take it seriously. Get critique from friends um, it's there's a it's a balance, like taking in the critique and then also figuring out what you are just going to push forward through. But I definitely went through 10 years of like really reevaluating my work, and that was after I had been working a lot. I'd been at least 5 years working for Games Workshop and other companies, so it was definitely a humbling experience. But I learned so much, and I enjoy my work so much more now that it's like every day I can learn something new.
Yeah. Now, currently, you have a bunch of pieces up at Springville Art Museum. Is that right?
Yeah,
So if you're in Utah, you can come down and see his stuff in person at the Springville Museum of Art. It's about, 45 minutes south of Salt Lake.
yeah.
Uh, so you're welcome to come down and take a look. And it's a really cool place. I'm just flipping through some of the pictures of stuff you have up over there at the museum. Um,
Yeah,
it's just
that was crazy because it's pretty rare for a museum to show fantasy art.
very rare.
Yeah, it's there's definitely there's some collectors and some things happening pushing museums to show it more. But yeah, so I was super surprised when they were interested in my work, and then like some of the work they wanted was some of my creepier stuff, which was awesome. And they ended up wanting 8 pieces, which I was really surprised about. So that was really fun.
How long does a typical piece take you on average? Say a painting like the mermaid with um, that you
Um,
have the picture on Instagram where it's a full painting.
yeah, I don't
Hard
like
to
since
evaluate.
yeah, well, since that's a personal piece, I didn't keep track too well. Like some of those paintings in that show, I started like 2 years ago. Or I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
it was like yeah, so it was like off and on over several years.
Mhm.
Um, and that was kind of part of my like reevaluating my work and like I mentored with Donato Giancola, who's amazing teacher,
Mhm.
and he's are you familiar with his work, Brad?
No, I'm not. Mm.
Uh, um, so he does a lot of great book covers, and he's worked on Magic too, and has been doing some really cool new stuff for Magic. But the thing about him is he'll work on a piece until it needs to be the level quality that needs to be, no matter how long it'll take. And so one of the pieces I did for his class, I think I worked on it over 6 months,
Mhm.
and but then it did really well for me. It won some awards, and after that, I was like, oh my gosh, is every piece going to take me 6 months? And it wasn't, all 6 months, but it was
Mhm.
probably like maybe solid 4 months of work.
Yeah, yeah, take a little break here and there and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'd go back and I'm like, "I think it's done," and then I'd show it to Donato, and he's like, "You can fix this and this," and then I'd go back, work on it for a few more weeks, show him again, "Nah, you could still push it." Uh, so that and, but it was that it pushed the final like, the level of realism and that I could do, and then so the
Mhm.
next piece I did like that took, like, maybe it was, like, 4 months and then 2 months, and then, and then it got down to manageable where I could do something like that in several
Yeah.
weeks. Um, so yeah, so it's kind of a range, like, if I'm learning something new, I'll attack it for a couple months if I need to.
Mhm.
Um, but then like the Chandra piece for Magic,
Yeah,
that
I
was
just have
like
that on the screen. I'll go back to it real quick.
that kind of gave me a heart attack because I'd done at that point I'd done 6 cards I think for them. So I was pretty new working on Magic, and um, I got the email and it was a Planeswalker, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, that's crazy."
So they
And
started. Oh, wait, so you had 6 cards before that.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it was a Planeswalker, and I was like, okay, that's a little pressure, but that's an awesome opportunity. And
It,
then and I just getting
it's let's just say this is one of the rarest Planeswalker cards because these are internal only.
yeah, there's only
These
five.
are yeah. There's only 5, so these are just for internal staff who work on a certain project and things like that. So it's a lot of pressure for that one, you know.
Yeah,
So
so I actually got like the shock of it actually made me a little sleepy. I'm like, I'm gonna go take a nap before I like get on this. And I was like, okay, I'm just relax here. And then I saw another email from Wizards, and I was like, oh, what's this? They're like, oh, and sorry, it's a rush job. We need it in 2 weeks.
2
And I was
weeks.
like, oh crap, no time
Okay.
for a nap. So yeah, I had 2 weeks to paint that thing, and yeah,
Okay.
but but luckily I'd been working hard and like refining my process. So
Mhm.
there were some late nights on it, but it worked out.
Good. Good. I'm glad it did. Now, how long does you work on when you get the order from Magic? You don't really get to determine when the card comes out, or but they give
No,
you an idea of a time frame, right? It could be a year, or 2 years.
not really. Yeah, you don't really know.
Okay.
Yeah, I've waited 2 years. Yeah, I'm waiting on lots of stuff right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you don't know.
Well, there's
Plan on 6 months to a year.
six
Yeah.
months to a year. So let's talk about my favorite card that you did real quick. Chittering Doom.
Oh.
Yeah. So when I play Magic, I'm a squirrel fan. I always have been. Squirrels and goblins are my jam. But for unstable, you did Chittering Doom, which
Mhm.
is squirrels and squirrels and squirrels. And so when did you start the artwork for this card? it came out, what was it, 2017 in
Yeah,
December? Yeah,
yeah. So
so
that was a 2-year wait. That was a long wait.
that was a 2-year one. Dang,
Hmm.
dude. Okay.
Yeah, and that was the first set I worked on. So yeah, so
Okay, so
it
that was
was
your first set, was
yeah.
for
Unstable was my first set.
Unstable. Okay, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
I know you've had some in the new core 2019 and stuff like that. So, uh, when's your next set coming out? When's some artwork that
The
looks?
next core set, and then
Okay,
there's more stuff, but that's all secret.
yeah. Well, the next core
So
set is 2020 when it comes out in July, I believe. So we'll get to see what card then. They'll probably spoil it like a month before, someone will. So we'll
yeah,
see what you got going on. But it'll be cool. It'll be cool.
yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I lose track, but
Hmm.
I think I'm up to the 2-year wait almost again.
Nice.
But yeah, it's fine. It's just
Hmm.
how it is. That's part of working in this business. And there's stuff like sometimes I forget I did stuff. It's been so long. Uh, so yeah.
Hmm.
So sometimes I like to do other projects where I know I can show it earlier. Just
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Like when you're working for Bethesda, what's your turnaround time on showing artwork with Bethesda?
They're faster because it's because the stuff is digital. So they don't have to print it.
Uh-huh.
The thing is, I might have new art out for Bethesda, and I might not even know,
Oh, okay.
because you just never. But it's usually within 6 months, so it's not
Really?
too bad. Yeah,
Okay.
but
Gotcha.
yeah, it might be faster. I just sometimes I just like sometimes I play their game. Like they have the Heroes of Elder Scrolls card game
Yeah. Hmm.
on the mobile. So I played that game and then got my card. And I'm like, oh, it's out.
Yeah.
So,
You also did Sideshow collectibles too.
mhm.
What's it called again?
Court of the Dead.
Dead. And
Yeah.
those are all original pieces only that they made models from. Is that right?
So I worked on. So they have Court of the Dead. Basically, the creative director wanted to build his own world because they do a lot of awesome stuff for Marvel and Star
Yeah.
Wars
Yeah.
and but yeah, the art director is creating his own world and his own characters, and so I worked on the book. What is it? I have it back here somewhere. Um, but yeah, so I did 2 paintings for the book, and
Okay. Okay.
and in the process, like there was some elements in there that um, weren't quite totally concepted out. Like, so I worked on that direction a little bit, but in general, most of the designs were already done by the sculptures. Like I worked on the Gethsemane character, which is one of the main. I think that was actually the first figure that came out for
Okay.
the series, and so that was all kind of set. I actually, the cool thing with Sideshow, this is an issue I don't usually have. I could have gone creepier with their
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff, and I think like they wanted me to kind of design some like zombie um nobility, and not like so just the people in the background. Like they're like
Hmm.
they said the art director said they would just be curious what I would do with it, and after I did the painting, I'm like, man, I should have gone creepier with
I didn't know
those
Art
figures.
Germ did a version of Gethsemane as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah,
I gotta pull that up real quick. Wow. Okay, I didn't know he does that.
yeah.
It's not
That's
his
a
normal style. No.
Yeah, that's that came out quite a while ago. That was kind of in the beginning when
Yeah,
they were launching.
I'm on their website, so yeah. I was trying to find some of yours, if possible.
Um, it let's see, I have the book back here
Do you get the
somewhere.
book? That'd be cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's really fun when you get to work on something like that where it's just like that creepy stuff. That's just stuff I would do for fun on my own. So I definitely keep that book around. There's a lot of great work in there.
Yeah. Usually, I'm not into the creepy stuff. I'm usually not into the horror stuff at all. What's funny though is since doing handyman, everybody's like, "Dude, you're into horror." I'm like, "No, not."
Yeah.
I'm trying something different for me, and
Yeah.
people are liking it though, so it's not bad.
So
But
this is the Court of the Dead book.
cool.
I'll find. Let's see. Not sure what page. Well, and that was one thing I was thinking about when you said you wanted to do an interview. Oh, here's some of my artwork for it.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So yeah, there's some weird undead royalty in the background, but I should have given. I think I should have tried to add a few extra arms and make them, a little more decayed and stuff. Like, so this is a Milkar's work. He does a lot of the concept art, and he always adds extra arms and cool, crazy decayed stuff. He's a really talented guy. He's a really great artist.
Cool.
But yeah, when you talked about, you mentioned talking, one thing that as an illustrator that surprised me is just the variety of projects you can get, because like the art directors at Wizards of the Coast know I like creepy stuff, disease stuff, but then like they've asked me, I've done like a shaggy camel. Like sometimes you never know what you'll end up illustrating.
I was going to ask you, do they kind of typecast you for certain items then?
I have, yeah, I think, so one of the art directors, at Wizards of the Coast, I've done two rats for her on different, like I've had a rat on a different game she was working on. And then when I was working on Magic, I got another rat and I was like, I could be the rat guy. But yeah, I mean, you want to put stuff in your portfolio that you like. So I like the dark stuff. I like undead. So I'll end up getting a lot of that, like monsters.
Okay, what is it about the dark, creepy stuff that you like?
I have liked it ever since I was a kid.
Really? Okay.
When I was 5 years old, my dad was in the Air Force, so we lived in Norway. He's stationed at a NATO base. So in Norway, there's a lot of folklore about well, you have Thor and all, but you also have trolls and witches, and that's kind of stuff is just everywhere, like in the children's books. And so I was obsessed with trolls as a kid, and I used to dress up as a witch.
Okay.
like I was just obsessed with like black, and I would even like wear a witch costume to school. Like, during recess, I'd put on like a black cape and run around.
It's also Norway's pretty up there, so it gets a little dark in the winter, right?
Yeah, totally.
So, yeah, that would mess me up. I like lights, and dark when it's too dark for too long, it really gets to me. But yeah. I can see how trolls and creepy things and the shadows and night. And
so when I first saw Star Wars, I was obsessed with Darth Vader. Like I always liked, I just always liked designing like the bad guys.
okay.
But I mean, I like, and as I kind of matured in my work, like I realized, I think I just liked conflict and story and good design, and like I'm nothing makes me more sad when I see a movie and I'm like, I wish the bad guy was a little better designed. Yeah. So, but and even good guys can look bad, and I like stories that play with like gray area characters where you don't know if they're good or bad, and I just find that interesting.
What's What's one of the last movies you saw where you think the hero or the villain should have been redesigned? No,
I shouldn't say.
No, say it.
I'm a snob, so like everything, pretty much every show I see, I'm like, oh,
That should
I,
have
yeah,
definitely
but I need to put my money where my mouth is and actually like, do some redesigns and
been.
um, so uh, yeah, I have friends that work on lots of stuff, so I won't say.
No, that's cool.
But and the thing is, until you actually try to design it yourself, you really don't know if you can do a better job because that happens all the time where I'm like, oh, I could do that better. And then when I
yeah,
do my
there's a lot
version,
of armchair quarterbacks, like, oh, I can
yeah,
do that, no problem,
yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
yeah,
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
okay,
Um,
grab this pen, let's go.
uh, I guess maybe a better question is, I don't know. I mean, and the thing is, design for film has just gotten so much better I mean, the technology's made it better too, but it's,
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's lost some stuff though. Like, okay, Transformers. God,
oh,
dude, how they did the robots, like,
yeah.
like that was bad, and they just went with it the whole time. Or most recently, Sonic. Opinion from that trailer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Sonic. I don't know how they got approval for that and got to move forward. That made no sense to me. Um, was the director was like, he's like, we're not beholden to the old, design thing or whatever, but he's going to go back and change some things now. I don't know if they'll have it done in time, but to me, that was kind of a big faux pas. Like, you should pay honor to what got you there to get that movie
Totally.
gig, instead of completely uh, radically change it. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because Sonic is, it's a stylized character. There's a cuteness to it, and then
Mhm.
you lose that cuteness and
Yeah.
the yeah,
It
it
made him
just
too human looking. Like, it was
yeah.
like, uh, it's like, I think Pokemon did it right. They took the time and like they designed it out so all the Pokemon
Mhm.
look like Pokemon, even though
Yeah.
they're CG to be realistic looking. It's still like Pikachu looks like Pikachu, Squirtle looks like Squirtle, and then they modeled it off of real animals, and stuff. So
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, when I saw Sonic, I was like, oh my gosh, that's gonna be so bad. And oh gosh, I wanted to just, I don't know, felt like vomiting in my own mouth when I saw that. I was like, oh, it's so wrong. Yeah. Pope Fire's asking, are there any Starfires around? I don't know if you have any Starfires at your place. She's a huge Starfire fan. I know I have one for you sitting on my desk, Pope Fire. I got to show you that a little bit later today. So she hired me to do a commission, and
Oh, cool.
finally, so thick and
Oh,
sexy
nice.
Starfire is done. Justin is in. He's Evolution Arts. Hey, what's up, dude? How you doing? Um, we're talking with Kari here, so if you have any questions about Magic the Gathering art, things like that he's done, you can check out the links below too. I put the links and how to get a hold of you below in the
Cool.
description. So,
Yeah. Questions
but
about the craziness of freelancing?
yeah, dude,
Staying
freelancing
sane.
sucks. Yeah,
How to stay sane.
yeah. I remember when we were talking about it, you were like, it takes a while to build up that the repeat customers over and over and over
Mm,
again. Yeah, so
yeah.
it takes a while. So let's see, playing Magic the Gathering for years, Post Project came out, used to play all the time. I had an epic stack. Nobody could beat me. Yeah, Magic has been around for what, 20,
Yeah.
25, 26 years, something like that now. So it's been a while. Because
It
I
has been a
remember when
while.
it came out. Did you play it when it first came out?
So this reminds me, I have more to the story so I told you it took me 10 years of like actively trying to get work on Magic. But it's actually longer because mid 90s, I had a friend from Seattle and she said, well, I got this job I got this secretary job at this company. It's kind of cool, kind of weird. They like make us play a game. It's I don't know. I don't know if I and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting. What is it?" She said, "Oh, it's I think it's called Magic and yeah, they might like your artwork." And this is when I was still in school. And I saw because I was a huge fan of D&D and the 80s TSR artists. So I saw that, um, the old TSR artists that were working on D&D were starting to work on Magic, and I was like, "Whoa, what is this game?" And so I sent them a portfolio back then, like mid '90s, and I sent it with slides.
Oh, nice.
It was like slides of my work, and they didn't hire me then either. So yeah, I was aware of the art pretty soon after the game started taking off. I did not play it until later on, though. I just didn't know anyone that played it.
Gotcha.
And I
See,
just, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, you go ahead and
Well,
finish.
well, so the crazy thing is that at BYU, I was in the illustration department, but most people were doing, like the teachers were doing children's books or novels. Like there wasn't there wasn't anyone that had a connection to the games industry or even like the fantasy genre. I guess there was one. I had one teacher named James Christensen, and he played D&D and was really successful fantasy painter. But besides that, like I didn't have any connection to that. So I had one teacher tell me, "Stop doing dragons and skulls. You're never gonna sell these things." so
Yeah.
so I went through school, even though I was working at game companies at school, which seems like an obvious contradiction to what I was hearing. I just I didn't think this would happen. So I should have been at the local game store, like playing Magic and like doing research. So when I first started getting contacted by these companies, it was just by luck because I wasn't looking for it.
So I played when it first came out. My friends and I did. We saved up and bought some money in the cards and everything. We mainly liked it because of the cool artwork that was in it.
Yeah.
And I think my favorite artist back in the day was Quentin Hoover on the sets, and the Hillebrand brothers too, because I met the Hillebrand brothers in person, and they came to my high school at the time, and they told
That's
me
amazing.
and they told me I should get into comics, and so I've got to talk to them many times over the years, and there's some really cool. Those guys are some really cool illustrators, and the way they use light and shadow still affects me to this day when I'm thinking about how do I light, a drawing or a piece I'm working on or whatever. Because I'm like, if I remember right, like in this Lord of the Rings drawing, they had the light coming out of the middle, so everything else is around it's going to be dark except the back is going to be like a gray, So I always think about that stuff, and I always remember the Hildebrandt brother pieces when I do it.
Yeah.
Quentin Hoover's artwork, I think he did a lot of painting and colored pencil. I liked his stuff. And then there was Nikki something. I can't remember her name. She was doing Magic the Gathering cards. And she did I think it was called Healing Salve. And she did inks, just colored inks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And she was from Utah. And so that's what got me to try to apply to work for Magic the Gathering the first time. And of course, I got denied right away because I had no idea what I was doing.
Did you send him your slide portfolio?
I did not. I emailed their art director. It was a few years later. So
you were smarter.
A little bit, but yeah, I got my rejection email. So but it was it's weird little things like that that get you think about who influence people or whatever to make choices they want to make. Who are some of your best artist influences? Since we're going down that road.
Oh, there's so many. I mean, for me, artwork is really emotional. So I like to just start going and kind of go with the flow. But sometimes you get in trouble, and so then you start looking at how other artists like solve issues.
Yeah.
Um, I was mentioning like the 80s D&D artists like Elmore, Jeff Easley, Larry Elmore, Parkinson, Clyde Caldwell. Um, kind of, are you familiar with those guys? Like, kind of were part of the
Totally.
original studio. I mean, I saw their Dragonlance work. Well, I'd seen their stuff on D&D books back in like fourth grade, and loved it. And then they started doing the Dragonlance stuff, and that just blew me away. I just sit. Someone brought a Dragonlance calendar to my English class in seventh
Mhm.
grade, and I was like, can I just borrow this the whole day? And I just stared at those paintings all day long. And it's weird because like they inspire me to do my work, but then what I do doesn't, it's not necessarily like exactly what they're doing, but I don't know, just the magic behind what they're doing, and the way they're using uh creature design, character design, and reference and stuff like that. um I love the way that Brahm paints. I like his just the quality, like the craft of his work. When I first met him at Gen Con, the first thing I was like, who inspires you? And I was expecting him to pull out some crazy dark art. He's like, I love Norman Rockwell.
Okay.
And at the time I was like, what? And but then Norman Rockwell, like the quality of his paintings are amazing. They actually had a show of his originals a few years ago
Cool.
at BYU, and yeah, his paintings are gorgeous in person. Um, um, it was fun working with Donato. Love his work.
Hmm.
Um, 2 weeks ago, I got to see. Are you familiar with Vance Kovacs and Justin Sweet?
Justin Sweet, I am not Kovacs.
So, yeah, so they're friends, Justin and Vance, and they're both really incredible painters. I think they work together at Black Isle Studios,
Oh,
and they have their own directions what they do, but there's a similarity. And I love both their work, but I got to see Vance paint, do like a 2-3 hour demo a few weeks ago in LA. And I feel like, I mean, whoever I see do something interesting, that's like also like my latest artists that I'm like excited how they work. And I want to, like, after I saw Vance paint, I was like, I went home and like, okay, I tried doing a piece how he did it, and then I'm like, well, that did some cool stuff, but that's not exactly for me. So then I try to incorporate things I like from what they're doing, but I like to also continue working how I want to work,
yeah.
because that's super important to just really enjoy what you do, because that makes the long hours, fun.
Yeah, I think it also it's your own personal process at that point. It makes it enjoyable. It makes it fun. You can feel the emotion in the piece,
Yeah.
when you do it, and people become fans of yours that way, because you're not like, you're not trying to copy someone else or push something beyond. You have your own
Yeah.
thing. So
I mean, and it kind of, and especially with illustration, I never know exactly what the job's going to be. So it's hard to say, oh, my work's going to be this direction this time, because if I have to paint, I'm trying to think of other weird things besides a camel I painted that I wouldn't normally. I mean, there's been tons, but yeah, you don't always know how you're going to solve it, really.
yeah,
So it's really good. I mean, I love 19th century painters, the pre-Raphaelites. I love Alma Tadema and Bouguereau. Um, it just when I first saw H.R. Giger's work, I was just fell in
Giger
love.
Geiger.
Well, Giger, if you want to be proper and like have a little bit of a German accent, it's Giger.
Okay.
but Geiger works too. But yeah, so I loved Giger's work, and probably the only thing that I totally, that could really tie in with what he does is I do like to play with like gray subdued colors, and that's and I like slimy glossy things. But when I first saw Giger, I bought an airbrush and I was trying to like get
Trying
some of the
to
same
match it.
shapes. Yeah, and it just was not working for me.
I like
It looked
watching other artists work. You mentioned
Mhm.
the depth we're at and stuff like that. So I always feel like I learned something, but maybe it's not what I wanted. How the process that they do it. It may not work for me. When I watch illustrators, but it gives me ideas. Though, does it do the same
Mhm.
with you? Where it gives you ideas
Oh,
on?
totally. Yeah, I try to like if I ever so with Vance Kovacs's workshop, I was scheduled to leave the day before, and my friend told me that that was happening, and I was like north of LA, and the workshop was south of LA. And if you're familiar with LA, traffic is horrible, so it was going to be like a 2-3 hour drive to get there. But I changed my plane ticket. And I was lucky my friend let me sleep on his futon because I didn't have a hotel room, and just it's just like when we have opportunities like that to see another artist's work, especially someone you admire, then you really should take it. And also just opportunity to hang out with local artists around you. Like you just never know what you'll learn. And actually, I think almost always I learn something from just hanging out with other artists.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, Jay Cartoon at the tattoo shop, the Arm Tattoo Shop down the street from us. Um, I learn a lot whenever I watch him because I know he draws on people all day long.
Mhm.
When he just gets to chill and doesn't have to worry about drawing on people, he becomes like a different artist, type thing. He doesn't have to
Yeah.
worry about getting every line correct and
Well, there's
leaving a mark on somebody's body.
yeah, and some of the best artists are tattoo artists. There's so many amazing tattoo artists.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool. Yeah, I know you have your sketchbook there.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
let's let's see what you got.
All right. Just a second. I
Okay,
gotta reach it over here.
no worries. Hey, K Blonde, how you doing? John Dillard, how you doing, guys? Um, only 4 likes. Yeah, I know, guys. Not everybody likes long conversations with artists, but I always learn something from them. That's why I do it. So, uh,
So
yeah, that's all.
I got a stack of stuff.
Original
I'm
artwork.
just
I always like looking at originals from people. It was fun. Like, do you know who Ron Garney is? I did an interview with him earlier.
I don't.
He was doing Savage Sword of Conan, and so he brought out some originals and stuff. And his pieces just have a ton of energy in them and stuff. So you just never know what you're going to look at. It's pretty
That's
cool.
cool. I need to check that one out.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool guy. So yeah, let's see what you got. You got that dragon.
Okay. So this is just this Naga guy that was on Instagram, but I think it's interesting to see originals, like see what size people work. So I'm always trying to figure out like a good way to work when I'm traveling. So I keep these smaller. For I
12.
think this is this guy is like a 4 by
Oh, is it that small?
6 by 8. No, it's a 6 by 8. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I travel. I really like these, like sketching on the plane. Just traveling. They're really light to carry around. They're thin. And then this is more like a 8.5 by 11.
Gotcha.
8 by 10. And that's if I have a little more space to work. So let's see. What happened to my? So here's some process. So these are thumbnails for the Chaos Wand.
Oh, from Magic. Yeah.
I can't really see this camera, so I don't know. Let me know if it's too small. But yeah, so just some different design ideas because sometimes with Magic, they'll have concept art for you, but for this one, they didn't. And so, the description was just a glass wand that's tubular with different elements like fire, and I think they said like fire and bubbles and rainbows and
Yeah. From
sparks, like
so
all the crazy. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, how does that all going to fit together?
yeah, the design and everything, the case, it looks like. And so, did you send the roughs back to them, and they said yes or no? And
Yeah, I think for this one, since it was really kind of up in the air, I sent a line art sketch first just to get the basic design, and then I did like color rough, and then I went to final. Like if it's a little more open, then I send a few more sketches to nail things down.
gotcha. Okay.
So here's some like mask. These are real loose, but some mask sketches for an animation I worked on.
Okay.
And they're really, and so these were super loose. So I just sent them to the director,
Yeah,
and then
really loose. I did not know your roughs were that loose. So
yeah, sometimes I get okay. So like here's a creature that's, I think the final is on Instagram. So this is a creature concept for a film pitch. So once again, the line art's pretty loose. I'm looking more for big shapes and like a feeling. So
okay.
I wanted like the creepy
Looks like 20.
long. Yeah, and he actually had like, so the idea was the actor would have stilts, and then it would be there. This is well, let's see. I don't know if I can get into detail about the design, but yeah, it's like a force of nature. So the legs are actually part
Part
like
tree,
living branches, and yeah.
But so yeah, so when you're just like doing the loose sketches for the design, you're just looking for the shape, the feel.
Yeah. And even just just having fun with like I like when I don't know where it's going, like so yeah, just like enjoyment of just drawing, and not necessarily locking into something, and it might be pretty ugly at first, but then sometimes shapes will hint at the other things. So what's the name of that artist? He does comics. Just a second, let me think of it. Is it Tim Gula? He has a cool video on YouTube about like automatic drawing or meditative drawing.
I don't know that one.
It's pretty cool. The idea is he's worked with Mobius and worked with Frazetta, and I think Kirby. You said Mobius and Kirby. Working with them, he was surprised because they both did this. They would just take time out and just start sketching shapes and just to kind of relax and recharge. So I saw that, I was like, that's kind of fun. It looks kind of fun, but it's kind of a weird hippie take on art. I don't know if it's worth your time. This is a really rough one, and I'm totally not trying to make anything good. But I found it's really awesome because I'm so used, I've been doing this like probably 20 years now, and I'm just so used to working with an objective or a deadline, and you lose touch of like just drawing for fun. And that means not even like I draw for fun, but I'm still trying to always impress myself and impress other people, and like just draw to enjoy drawing. And it's a good way to like get out all those weird ideas that you may or may not use later.
How do you when you're sketching and designing a character or whatever, and you got the design of the character right? How do you determine what pose to put him in? Like, because pose can kind of lead to whatever's happening on the page.
Yeah. A lot of it's sketching. Sorry, I don't have an example. Oh, okay, wait. So like this figure here, I have this on my Instagram. So I did this kind of octopus mermaid character, And then I liked that pose. And then I was doing a movie poster for a film festival called Film Quest, and so I liked that pose, and so that became the final painting, which is also on my Instagram. But I like to, I like graceful shapes, and so just kind of sketching S shapes, and depends if it needs to be a graceful character or like a stronger, tougher character might be more angular shapes. Um, but also, I look at photography um, and I do 3D modeling too. So sometimes
Yeah,
like just moving a 3D model around comes up with
ZBrush.
interesting. Yeah, ZBrush, Daz is great for pre-built content. Um, but I've experimented with like posing a model in 3D and like posing a real person, real model. And I'm pretty convinced at this point, actually, it's hard to beat like what you can create as a drawing. Like you come up with that gesture first that has all the emotion and drama, and then you can you know photograph someone or pose your 3D model or look at photography to
Mhm.
build the reference around it.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha. Cool. What when someone new is starting out on a painting like for the first time, what suggestions would you give to them? Uh,
Ooh, so painting for the first time.
yeah, like they're
Uh,
trying,
that's a
create their
yeah.
first.
I've been thinking about this actually. So for me, drawing was always a thing. Like I can draw as soon as I can, as early as I can remember, I was drawing. So pencil drawing was always like fun and enjoyable and a way to escape boring times at school. um, but painting was like that was a new experience, and um, I think every artist is different, but I think certain artists think more with line and other artists think more with shape. And for me, since I liked line and drawing so much, but I wanted to be a good painter, I had to think of painting and drawing as separate things. And it's a little tricky because if you a lot of art classes will give you the good advice that a good painting comes from good drawing, which is true. But my problem was I would do a really tight drawing I loved, and then I would try to save that drawing in the painting, because you're, and painting on top of the drawing. But when I started seeing drawing and painting as separate things, and like started focusing on shape rather
Mhm.
than line, and either starting with no drawing at all or being willing to lose my drawing totally. That's when I learned to paint, because before then I was just doing like tone painting, and it kind of like a tone line drawing, and it
Okay.
depends on the style too, because if you're that's totally a cool style too if you want like a painting that's more like line that's painted. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes
Because
sense to
there's
me
certain,
anyway.
I'm trying to think. I mean, a lot of comic book artists that are really good at drawing. A lot of the if you do like a finished painting, you'll still see the line. It's more of a. It's not like a fully rendered painting,
You're
but
talking
I
about that
really,
black line thing where they always outline everything in black, and you'll see
yeah,
the
or
through or
yeah,
whatever.
which
With the painting though, you don't have those lines. You
yeah,
usually
one, and I would say that's painting too. It's just the style I wanted to go for, like so. Um, so because I really liked what the old like the 80s D&D artists were doing, and I liked what Brahm was doing, and so well, actually Brahm has quite a bit of line in his work. I realized later, but for like Justin Sweet, for example, he'll like his hands will just be more like suggested, like a loose suggestion
oh,
of shapes. So I love that ability to not have it all like a really resolved line drawing. Um, and I also like a lot of the just like, so are you familiar with Bouguereau's work or
Uh,
Waterhouse?
Waterhouse, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So wait, maybe we should bring up a water. Let's see. Can we bring up a Waterhouse painting?
Let me grab it real quick. Hold on.
That's a good thing. Okay.
Bum, 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 bum.
I saw an exhibit in London of Waterhouse paintings about 10 years ago, and that just blew me away. That
Let's
was
grab one real
amazing.
quick. John William Waterhouse. Let's get a decent resolution, please. Is that one? Yeah, there we go. Let me open it. A new tab. There we go. And let me share that real quick. Boom.
Yeah. So the thing here is like there's not much line. I mean, he's definitely a good drawer, but this is all about shape, and this is what I wanted in my work. Like I wanted
You can actually
that.
zoom in and
Yeah. Wow.
see the canvas texture. There's
And,
no hard lines.
yeah. There's a strong contrast between softness and hard edges. Like the hair gets so soft, and also I love the
Yeah, it's
playing
just
with
a suggestion.
warms and cools.
There's no hard there like the individual strands. There's no, no lines there for that. There's no
Mm.
what's it called? Specular highlights or
Yeah. Well, in this, and yeah, and so I think he probably did that because he wants your eye to go to the skin. I mean, there's a lot of contrast on the hair, so you're still like it still has that feeling of specularity, but yeah, I love Waterhouse, amazing, and so it kind of just depends on
Oh,
where you want to go with
sorry
the
about
work.
that. I forgot I didn't have the Waterhouse image shown on the screen.
Oh,
My bad.
we're like, yeah, this is so amazing.
It should come up
All
here.
right. Be prepared to be blown away.
So, but
Is it up now?
Mingle Shrink, yeah, it's up there. So,
Yeah. Yeah. But and then the amazing thing with Waterhouse and Bouguereau is the subtlety of the skin tones. So you'll see like in the shadows, there's like a coolness, it's almost green,
yeah,
and who knows how the reproduction always changes things, but they're playing with warms and cools in the skin tones,
see the
and
thing. In fact, they were telling me like when you have a warm skin, right? You
mhm,
always do a cool shadow. You
mm,
want to do the opposite effect of
yeah,
whatever the main source color is. If it's a
yeah,
warm color, cool shadow. If it's a cool uh, item or whatever color, you want a warm shadow.
yeah.
So yeah,
And if you look closely, it even gets more complex with this. Like, if you look closely at her neck, there's like, um, there's like you can really just have fun with like warms and cools together, even in the highlights. Like you can have like a cool shade next to a warm shade in the highlights, so it shows like where the blood is in the cheeks and in the lips. Um, yeah, it's just and I think what really got me obsessed with this is with Brahms' work, how he plays with warms and cools in his brush marks, and
let me
I
pull it arm real
yeah
quick.
yeah
Search real quick. So um, BRAUM, right?
yeah BROM,
Oh, I'm sorry.
and his wife is also Laura Lee is also an amazing painter.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Which one do you
So
want to look at?
let's just pull up this first zombie horse one. This is actually a good example because I was obsessed with, I love doing undead, and I saw Brum painting this kind of gorgeously diseased undead skin, and I'm like, how does he do that? And this one is pretty darn gray, But if you look like on the knee, on her knee, like there's a hit of warm tone
As
on
a
that knee,
color,
and that's where the skin is going to be thinner, and so there might be more blood. Um, the shadow on the horse's stomach, it actually gets quite a saturated blue, and that's not realistic, but that looks so cool. So yeah, I just and this kind of goes back to H.R. Giger's work too. Giger plays a lot with these subtle, a lot of gray. It's really cool when the colors are really grayed out. So when you
yeah.
just add a little bit of saturation, it suddenly really pops. Like
Mhm.
the green on that green on her, the wreath on her head is probably almost gray, but since everything else is so gray, it looks like it's pretty saturated.
A
And I
star
just
too, yeah.
yeah, and the star, and then and you can do crazy things where, say I'm using red tones. If I start graying out those red tones, the grays will look like blue, even though they're actually still gray. I don't know if that it took me years for that to actually make sense,
If
but
there was a painting, it would pop out so much in the artwork.
yeah,
Like a really high vibrant red would just stand out so much.
yeah. And the thing about this is then you start becoming in control of what your audience is viewing, because that's the way you really control where their eye goes. And that's actually the key to a good painting and a bad painting, is having control over the eye. And it seems really silly and simple, and especially when I first heard that, but um, yeah, a master painter will have complete control over what he wants you to, or she, wants to look through this painting and see and take from it.
Yeah, master illustrator will too. Anybody who does
Yeah.
artwork for a living. Uh, what is it? What is his name? He did like Swamp Thing.
Oh yeah. Oh, love
Yeah.
his work.
Uh,
Um,
can't remember the name.
yeah.
The show's over.
Oh,
Uh,
we got to think of it now. He's so awesome. Phil Hill.
I wasn't thinking
No,
him. Oh, hold
no.
on.
Okay.
Oh, oh,
Phil
oh.
Hill is awesome though. If you don't know Phil Hill, look him up.
Let's see here. I'm looking it up real quick. Bernie Wrightson.
Oh
That's what I
yeah,
was thinking. Yeah.
he's awesome too. Yeah, as far as like inspirations, it's hard to narrow it down. There's just so much wonderful stuff. But yeah, Bernie Wrightson is, especially for comic artists, like that is a great artist to look at for
Yeah, because
like
he uses. I'm gonna pull up a drawing of his here real quick. Let's do the. Is that one? Yeah. Okay. Let me pull up the image real quick. This is just an example of how good he is, what he does, because
yeah,
how he pulls in your eyes, to the character. You got the stark blacks around it, and then you got the bright whites which pull your eye, right? And then you have the little gray village down below, which you look at secondary, but your eyes are drawn upwards towards the character with the way the landscape's designed and where the hard blacks are. It does the same thing. So
yeah, totally. And this is also a key skill, like learning how to control the eye, because that way you can focus your attention in the areas of the piece that you want to. Like if you love painting a face, then you'll want that contrast on the face, and you want less contrast on, say, leaves, if you don't want to like do the most amazing leaves someone's seen. So it understanding this will save you a lot of time and help you enjoy doing your work more. So
very
because
true.
in the beginning, I was like, oh, I have to paint everything everywhere, like equal amount of focus and detail.
Yeah.
No, you just gotta know how to lead the eye.
Yep, that's all. It's what it comes down to, guys. Well,
It's easy.
Kari, I want to thank you for hanging out with me today. It's been an honor to have you on the show. You're a good friend too for helping me out years. So thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks for the chat for being there watching. I think we're going to wrap it up right now. But how can someone get a hold of you or see you, your stuff? I know I put your links down below, but why don't you just tell everybody real quick where they can?
So I have a website, KariChristensen.com. My first name spelled Kari, and then my Instagram is Kari Artwork, and I have a Facebook page that's like a business page that I never update, so I probably don't recommend going to that. But yeah, just feel free to contact me if you have any questions through email or look me up on social networks, and that's.
Are you going to be any shows coming up or?
Yeah, I'm gonna I'm gonna be a guest at Salt Lake Gamer Con in June, at the end of June, and also be at SpikeCon, which is also in Utah, and then I'll be at the Las Vegas GP, and I think it's in August.
Okay, cool, awesome. Well, anyways, yeah, thanks for hanging out with me again, and everybody, I want to wish you a great day and God bless. We're going to take off, and
thanks, Brad. It was a lot of fun.
All right. Take care, and see you next time, guys.